Minasan konnichiwa, Cruz-sensei desu. If there was ever an important grammar point that I needed to emphasize, it is going to be this one. It is going to be connecting verbs and adjective phrases and sentences using the te form of verbs and making requests using the te form. So, back in chapter 1, we introduced requests such as kite kudasai and mite kudasai, in which kudasai roughly means please. The forms kite and mite are the te forms of the verbs kikimasu and mimasu, respectively. In chapter 5, it introduced the phrase aruite ikimasu, in which aruite is the te form of arukimasu, which means to walk, and indicates how the speaker goes from one place to another place. You may have also noticed headings such as hanashite mimashou, which is let's try speaking, or kiite mimashou, let's try listening, in the chapters of this book. The form mimashou means let's try, and the preceding te form indicates what to try out. These are only a few uses of the te form, and as you continue to study Japanese, you will learn a variety of structures that use this form. So we are going to be talking about the formation of te forms and the 3 request forms using te form, which is kudasai, kudasaimasen ka, and kuremasen ka. So, like I said, if there was an area that I really needed you to take notes on, highlight on, emphasize on, it is going to be te form. It comes up so much in Japanese. This is a section you really need to pay attention to. So, let's break these up into our verb groups. First one we're going to start with is do. So, if you are going to do anything with do, all you need to do, drop mas and put te. So to eat, taberu becomes tabemasu. Tabemasu becomes tabete. Mimasu, mite. Kakemasu, kakite. Irregular verbs are going to do the exact same thing. Kuru, which becomes kimasu, is going to become kite. Shimasu, shite. Benkyou shimasu, benkyou shite. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So let's go and talk about verbs. It gets a bit more complicated. There are actually 5 basic patterns, and they're determined by the sound that comes before mas, and we'll talk about each of those. The te form of the verb ikimasu is itte, even though it is an verb. This is considered an exception. Highlight this. Please, please, please highlight this. Make a note. That is a very important exception to remember. So, let's go and check out the different groups that we have. The first one is going to be the su. So if it's hanasu, hanashimasu, this is going to become hanashite. So if your verb is going to have shi before mas, shi becomes shite. In kikimasu, we have the ki before the mas. We're going to drop the mas and put ite. So ki is going to become ite. So kiite. Oyogimasu is going to become oyoide. So gi becomes ide. To say, we talked about to say before. Actually, just kidding. So imasu is going to become itte. Machimasu, matte. So I, chi, ri is going to become small tsu, te. As we can see here with hairimasu, haite. If it ends in mi, bi, or ni, it's going to become nde. Yomimasu becomes yonde. Yobimasu, yonde. Shinimasu, shinde. And excuse me, this is where I was talking about that we have the exception of ikimasu, which becomes itte. So even though this has a ki before the mas, it is the only exception. So you're not going to go iite, you would say itte if you're going to be using ikimasu. I would suggest reading over this a few times. It takes a while to get used to. We'll practice it in class, but please be sure that you highlight, bookmark this page. So let's talk about making those polite requests. So we have te kudasai, te kudasaimasen ka, and te kuremasen ka. These are all used to make a request, and each expression generally indicates a polite request, but te kudasai is considered the more forceful amongst the 3 because it's seen as a command. While a social superior, such as me, your teacher, or someone older than you may use te kudasai to ask you to do something, it would be rude for you to say te kudasai to your social superior. Instead, you would use te kudasaimasen ka, which is a more polite form commonly used for a social superior. てくれませんか is less formal than てくれませんか. So it would be used with someone of equal social status or similar age. So for example, if you wanted to ask me to write the kanji, you would say, 先生、漢字を書いてくださいませんか? If I wanted to ask you to please read the book, 本を読んでください. And then to appear, so if you wanted to say, oh, could you go to the library? So, 図書館へ行ってくれませんか? That's how we would be using that. This is all we're going to be talking about with te form for now. We will be practicing this in class. Don't worry. But like I said, I want you to go back. I'm emphasizing this for a reason. Make sure you mark this page. I'll even show you the page number. It's page 231. Mark this page. Make sure you commit this chart to memory so that you know those formation patterns. Awesome work. We'll go over this in class, and I'll see you then.